having a majority and we're just split with the people who are here, David, then we cannot give you the majority-minority report that the board wanted us to give to them.
Why is that?
Because there's only 4 of us here and there are 5 people on the committee.
Well, if the committee split, then doesn't it automatically kick into a majority-minority report?
How do you decide who's the majority and who's the minority at that point?
Well, if you're split evenly.
We can't say that we know how Paige feels.
Wait a minute. Why don't we just why don't we open the meeting and have our discussion?
Do you want to approve minutes first? Call the meeting to order.
Yeah, if you would, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, it is 2:13. Calling the meeting to order. If you're on the committee and here, please state your name for the tape. Rachel Pienta.
Bob Danzy.
Steve Foltz.
Hugh Taylor.
August
31st. And it's August 31st.
It is August 31st, yes, thank you. And
July 31st.
July 31st.
Oh my goodness, I was just going to agree with them. Like, that sounds good. It's another month, primary's over, good stuff. Can we have guests state their name also?
David Edwards.
Howard Kessler.
And Van Meter.
Okay, those are all the folks in the room right now. The minutes.
If you'll take one from each stack.
Are up for consideration.
3 meetings worth of minutes. They are on the Public Records Google Docs site also, as are the transcripts. Who should make the motion?
I don't
Anybody
know
can.
what we'll do with this, but I don't understand how we can legitimately approve these minutes, 3 meetings worth, in 3 or 4 minutes.
Well, they were sent out in advance.
They have been posted, so.
No, okay.
Just
for the record, I hadn't had them. If I approve them, then I want that stated. But I've not really had a chance to review them.
You can vote against it.
And that's just what I plan on doing.
Well, all those in favor of approving the minutes as presented by Committee Secretary Hugh Taylor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So we've got one. It's a 3-to-1.
All right, 3-to-1. 3-to-1 approval. And now.
So, and now, is the public comment at this point to try to add addendums to the minutes? Because that's the only thing that would make sense to have public comment on right now.
I mean, public, with what we did with the Wetlands Committee, we had 2 places to comment. Well, yeah, Bob spent a lot of time there. The first one was basically old business.
Okay.
The second one, during the meeting time, was stuff that came up during that meeting.
Right.
So if you heard something, and couldn't comment,
Yeah,
Okay.
or
public can't comment except for appropriate time. And how many minutes should that be?
Put a proposal on the table.
3 minutes is what we do at the commission meeting.
You making a motion?
I make a motion, 3 minutes.
All those in favor of allowing 3 minutes public
need
comment?
a second.
Need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we're going to allow 3 minutes public comment for item 2. Do we have any public comment?
Did you? I'm sorry.
Howard, did you want to comment at this point?
Yes, I would like to comment. I might need more than 3 minutes. It was,
I feel a lot of times at the commission meetings I need a little more than 3 minutes, but I've been told specifically that I should be able to get any point across in 3 minutes.
well, I would like to read something specifically, and if it takes me to appear twice in this meeting, I guess I will, and we can come back, but I'll start.
Do you have a document that you can submit into the
I have a
records of the meeting?
document that I would like to read into the record. I have never practiced it. It is about a page and a half. It might be in the 3 minutes, but I'm just saying, for this being a committee meeting, it seems like the access in the committee meetings that I've been to, through all of the time that I've been involved with the Board of County Commissioners and their workshops and committees, there has not been this type of limitation on speakers at a committee meeting.
Someone else could speak to that more than I can.
That's true.
I was the wetlands we were in there.
Well, I think as with the county commission meeting, I think it's the chairman's prerogative to allow more time. If not, I think that's purely discretion of the, I think the 3 minutes is a guideline, and that the chair has the option to listen as long as she would like.
And we didn't have a clock, but we had a responsible time there, because I
don't have a long presentation. I just don't want to be in the middle of a sentence and, I have half another sentence. It's just silly.
Well, I'd like to hear your document, absolutely. But I would like for there not to be a whole explanation of the document when you're done necessarily. That
I am not going to explain this document.
Okay, all right, because I'm concerned that we could get into the weeds, and I don't want that to happen.
No, I am not going to explain the document. Whatever the Records Committee or the Public Records Committee chooses to do or not do with this document, that is for you to decide. But I am not going to be offering an explanation of the document.
Well, go ahead and read your document then, please, in its entirety.
So, this is a letter to the members of the Public Records Committee, Crawfordville, Wakulla County, Florida, July 31st, 2012, to the Public Records Committee. I request that this letter become part of the official record of the Public Records Committee. I had wanted to be present at the April 11th, 2012 Public Records meeting, but because of the short 2-day notification of the meeting, I was unable to reschedule my dentist appointment and a volunteer clinic I had previously scheduled on the same day. A presentation at the 2/10/12, that's February 10th, 2012 Public Records Committee meeting clearly contains misinformation. The following statements of Mr. Bob Danzy were taken from a recording of the 2/10/12 Public Records Committee meeting and relate to me being deposed for the, quote, Ronald Crum v. Wakulla County, case number 092566CA, end quote. Statements of Mr. Bob Danzy appear in quotations. I added the bold. Bold was added. Bob Danzy said, quote, "That is very untrue." Quote, "Howard was asked for his," end quote. Quote, "Commissioner Kessler was asked by the Crum attorneys for his BlackBerry." Quote, "So in the lawsuit they asked him for his BlackBerry." Quote, "He said, absolutely not. I lost it," is what he said, "and it mysteriously got found later, maybe 6 months later. And then they finally got it, and they, the county, lost the lawsuit." Quote, end quote, end quote. "And then it mysteriously appeared some 6 months later." Quote, end quote. Quote, "I know about this lawsuit because I was involved with another one." End quote. Quote, "Commissioner Kessler didn't give his BlackBerry to them and his lawyer's advice." Well, then the law is wrong. Quote. My response to Mr. Danzy is as follows. What Mr. Danzy said relating to my, Howard Kessler's, BlackBerry being lost is completely false. This statement relates to the Ronald Crum v. Wakulla County case number 092566CA, end quote, discussed at the 210-12 Public Records Committee. For the record, I never lost my BlackBerry. 2. I had my BlackBerry with me at the time and during the deposition. 3. My BlackBerry was not hidden. I used my BlackBerry in a completely open manner during the deposition. 4. I have fully complied with all public records requests I have received relative to the, quote, Ronald Crum v. Wakulla County, case number 092566CA, end quote. And it is my practice to always fully comply with public records requests. 5. After the county attorney advised me not to turn over my BlackBerry during the deposition, and after the county attorney made oral argument that I should not hand over the BlackBerry, I complied with the county attorney advice. The county attorney was representing the county and was also representing me in my official position as a Wakulla County Commissioner. My statements here will set the record straight. I submit this letter for the official record of the Public Records Committee. Thank you. And I'll submit this letter to the chair.
Do you have a copy for the secretary?
And I have a copy for the secretary.
Thank you.
And I have a copy for the guest. And committee member. And committee member. Thank you.
Are there committee comments or additional public comments?
I guess we should go to the additional public comment first and get that out of the way if there isn't.
Okay. Any more public comments then?
Yeah, I will,
Is your committee comments?
yeah, oh, I thought you, were you to the committee or?
Yeah, it's committee or public comment at this point.
Yep. I'm just going to put it on the record that I appreciate being taken out of context in some of that. I think it was ridiculous what he just said and read. Those are my opinions only. I've stated my opinion about this whole matter. I state my opinion now that there was no BlackBerry turned over. I said he lost it. Okay, maybe that's not, the lawyer said not to turn it over. I don't know. But I do know they were trying to get it awfully hard. Now, here's the thing that's the most ridiculous about this. Is that Mr. Fultz brought up all those court cases that had absolutely nothing to do with what we're in here doing. That may be his opinion that they do, but it's my opinion that they don't. I think that was trying to go outside the boundaries of what we were doing to confuse things to get a certain agenda for a few people passed through this committee. This committee was about public records, not some lawsuits. And if they did bring that in with Howard Stuck, it's the fact that he wouldn't, the conversation came to the fact that we couldn't get, in my opinion, you'd say the people, but it was actually not the people. It was Crum and Tucker that couldn't get information from the county. Had no business here in the first place. Again, I say it's my opinion. I think it's a crock. I think I was taken out of context in what he did read, and I find that appalling. Thank you.
Okay. Hugh?
Well, number one, there is an audio record of the meeting. It's the letter. But that's okay. That's what it is. Number two, the fact that it was outside the boundaries of this committee, I personally disagree with, which will come a little bit later, but as I have on my recommendations for the committee,
which are going to come later.
Which are going to come later, but are pertinent to this particular situation with Bob. The first consideration in cost savings should be the lack of cost associated with judgments or legal settlements for violations of the public records law. It's like the first rule of capital. Don't lose your capital.
Yeah.
You with me?
Sure.
And that was an outgrowth. That statement, I think, is pretty self-explanatory, but I didn't realize the extent of the judgment against the county until Mr. Foltz brought it up. And I think it's pertinent to our charge from the county, because the charge says, advise and make recommendations to the board regarding ways to improve the efficiency of the records policy that result in a reduction of the county's costs. I like that one. No lawsuits is an incredible savings.
It is an incredible savings. However, it seems that lawsuits are brought frequently against the county, and that the county often settles without trying to. They don't take them all the way to fruition to try to win, but they're often advised by the county attorneys to go ahead and settle.
That's fine.
And so to say that it's a judgment against the county as if they actually lost the case versus refusing to move forward and pursuing a settlement agreement, it's a little bit different.
Well, mine is more in, let me clear that up. The first consideration in cost savings should be the lack of costs associated with judgments or legal settlements.
Here's the thing, people are going to bring lawsuits against the county, and public records requests may or may not be part of those lawsuits. But to say that the county is settling lawsuits because of failures to comply either in a timely manner or correctly with the public records law, I don't think we have a basis to say that in this committee. I don't.
Well, I mean, that's your opinion.
Without a review of every single settlement over a period of time, maybe the last 3 county administrators, you can't say that. And my understanding of the history is that there have been settlements. They've not been judgments where they lost a case, because they did not take them all the way.
Well, that's part of what I said is taken out of context. Is I didn't say that Howard gave his BlackBerry and then they lost automatically. That was the reason. But I may have said that happened and then they had to settle. But the intent of that was that he wouldn't give it up, and y'all here y'all are wanting all this stuff given to the public, and he wouldn't even give his up in a court case. And then at the end of the day, yeah, the county lost the lawsuit. They had to settle on 2, 4 lawsuits, whatever you brought in there. But they settled and they lost. But that has nothing to do with this.
So it's
just nothing to do with it.
Well, I mean,
Steve tried his hand up for a while.
If I may, the only thing I'd like to say is the only reason that I sought to be on this committee was to try to save the county money and to try to streamline the process. Bringing information about a $117,000 lawsuit settlement, I thought was pertinent to at least look at, understand what had happened there, so that we could then help to assure that we don't go down that path again. That was all. You have to look at the history to be able to change and make the adaptations so that you don't make those same errors again. And I'll tell you, it's very frustrating for me to have gone and spent as much time and effort, and I've produced document after document. I've done a lot of work, as many other people have done. Some have done virtually zero. And then for us, please, can I finish? Thank you. And then for us to come to a point where the majority said, let's just do nothing, is just, from my perspective, extraordinarily frustrating, and that's all. Thank you.
My opinion in coming in here was to try to help too, but after doing research, now the reason I made sure that the people on those things knew that we were talking about me was because you referenced that I've not done a lot of work. Well, I disagree. I've done a lot of work, but it wasn't in here. And I went and found people. Y'all got mad at me for going and talking to other people, talking to Virginia.
Don't look at me.
No, y'all got mad and said, oh, she's got to be in here. So we went and got all these, what we'll call witnesses. And those people basically said, there ain't a lot we can do. Y'all are wanting to streamline it? It's got to go through the attorney and Jessica. It has to be looked at. There's not a lot we can do. But what we can do is follow the rules of the plan that we have, and that's charge more money like we're supposed to. And that'll reduce cost. We found a way to reduce cost. It's just not, in your mind, appropriate.
And here's the thing. We have agreed on one point that we want the county administrator to send one staffer per year for the Public Records First Amendment training. That we think that's important. And we were going to leave the discretion in the hands of the county administrator. But we said it is important that a staffer do attend. We agreed on that in the meeting.
That was an element of the discussion.
That was the one thing that we agreed on in a vote. Everything else came to a standstill, and we fell apart. You can't. And one of the things was that Steve wanted everything in his proposal accepted, and it was like all or nothing. And he wasn't happy that we were only taking one element of his thing. Therefore, we have a split opinion, because there are lots of things that you want that in our last meeting, when all 5 of us were together, we all did not agree on. I've drafted a document based on what Paige, Bob, and myself were able to agree on. And I know you have a document based on what you were able to agree on.
We didn't.
You've come in with a document, you've talked extensively.
Well,
I'm not going to do a public records request to find out how much you've talked outside this meeting, gentlemen, but I know you have a document.
I don't.
I don't need
Rachel,
no.
You talk.
Just hold on a minute. I don't have a document. The only documents I
Did you
brought.
not have anything prepared today? Nothing drafted?
I brought the documents that I had done previously. Yeah, absolutely. I have not done anything since our last meeting except, and I do. I take umbrage with that because you just made an accusation. And
Boy, you talk about defamation.
I'm sorry. I did not. I do not. The only things I brought with me are what I had presented previously. I'll show you. This is the one I presented on March 5. This is the one I presented on the 1st. And I did not, by the way, say I have all or none. I don't know where that statement came from.
The meeting when all 5 of us were together and you were gripping the table and trying to not yell at us. And it was very apparent that you were angry.
Yes, I will say that I was upset. I wouldn't say angry that we were being told, and I can play the recording. I'll be happy to play that recording. That you wanted to do nothing. You took a vote, and it wasn't a supermajority to effectively do nothing. Go back to the Board of County Commissioners and say what we have in place, what Mr. Danzy suggested, what Paige agreed to, and what you agreed to, was we go back to the County Commissioners and say everything we have in place, okay, is exactly what we want. And that is what upset me, that I would spend so much time and effort, and you can pick and choose any from me.
We moved beyond that, Even in that conversation, we moved beyond it and said, but wait, we all do agree on the education piece. We actually came to consensus on that one piece.
Yes, I would say, and that's why I don't understand why you would say that I was all or none. I mean, I even backed off we talked about the identifying.
Because it's a statement, and I apologize to you. I guess what has set me off is listening to you start off again being angry about how much work you've done and how nobody's listening to it.
How else would you characterize what this committee's done, Rachel? Please, it is what it is. I'm sorry. We've got a.
I too would like to say.
Bob.
No, go ahead. I mean, I don't want to interrupt you.
No. Here's what happened at the county commission meeting that night. You got up and admitted in front of everybody there and everybody on TV that y'all had been talking, and then the attorney said, you're still under the sunshine law, and you said, oh, I thought this our committee was over, and she said, no, you can't talk, and you said, well, I've been talking, and it's right there on TV. So yeah, y'all been talking. You admitted it right there at the commissioners meeting.
We talked.
You just admitted, and then you said, well, I don't know. I won't talk no more.
That's a mistake.
That's true as it can get.
Well, there's evidently some misperceptions floating around about that.
But that's
Well,
okay with
let's
me. I
go
was
to, I have no problem, and I have gone to the record. The committee expired. Whether or not Heather was correct is
no.
I don't know. I really don't know, but I would like
But I know because I went to the record.
It's okay. I was just
It's
pointing out
not
the fact that
okay.
you admitted that y'all.
I have.
That's just ridiculous. But we should get on
At
with
that,
the business rather than
Bill, hey, are you done? I'm sorry. Are you done?
maybe. But
No, I mean, do you
no,
care if
yeah, I
I
was
speak?
just clearly saying that we should do what we came here to, rather argue over whether you said it at the meeting or not. You said it clearly.
May I speak?
Yes.
This work is my work.
Okay.
My work solely and totally. I did not speak to anyone other than one-way communications about minutes, etc. Did not speak or write once the committee was reestablished.
Right.
And I will challenge anyone, including Heather,
Well, I bet you.
about the fact that the committee was still in existence
Okay. What's
because
the time period, Hugh?
we-
What's the time period that the committee expired and the committee was reestablished?
I wasn't here to argue that point today, but I do know this. I was told from when the Wetlands Committee expired, we could not talk. That's not the correct interpretation
I don't know anything about
of
the committee procedure. I don't know.
This committee expired
When?
prior to the meeting when it was reinstated.
Okay.
The committee did not exist.
I don't know. I do not know, Hugh.
And the
All right.
attorney's opinion is
Hold
that
on,
it-
I'm listening
okay.
to Hugh. Hold
That's
on.
right.
And I was sandbagged by Heather. If anybody on this committee or in the county administration wants to do whatever they want to do, I'll be happy to engage that discussion. But all I've heard about since I've been in here and since I've come to every meeting is agendas, agendas, agendas. I, like Mr. Fultz, was here to save the county money. I have case after case after case, and case being incidents, case being experiences, which that is my work right there. And if you want this stuff, we can stay here all night, and I'll go through chapter and verse of material that is in violation of the public records, and that's my agenda, to save this county money.
Wonderful.
The first way you save money is not to be in a position where you have to settle or you lose. I have attorney advice over cases. It's insignificant. Get over it. Am I right? You're right.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I think we're here to do the procedure for the final report, and we are getting in the weeds, and I don't want to get in the weeds on this. I want to do the procedure
Hey, wait a minute.
for the final report.
Neither Mr. Fultz nor I headed into those weeds, and I want that clear, and that will be clear from the transcript of this meeting.
Okay, fine. Then we're back on track, and we're agreed that we're working on the final report. Steve?
Yes, if you don't mind. and again, I'm going to read these. I'm going to put these on the table. These are my suggestions, and I'm not trying to, it's not an all or nothing, okay? You don't have to take, you can take any bit of it that you want. But I think there are some salient points in here that we should consider as a committee. And I'm going to go over them once again, and I apologize to you, Bob. I know you don't want to hear them,
you are,
but I'm going to go over them again.
I do appreciate everybody's opinion. I truly do.
And this is, again, I'm just going to reiterate what I've talked about from day one. The first document I was asked to prepare, I prepared. We were asked to prepare documents. Documents were presented by some folks. From 1/11/12. As the public's point of contact, the custodian of records plays a crucial role in effectively and efficiently providing requestor documents, developing procedures, and requiring initial as well as recurrent training for this key position should be considered. Skills might include determining exactly what the requester is looking for, narrow the scope while still satisfying the request, explain and provide a written estimate for each request, act as an advocate for the requestor, assure no exempt information is released, and effectively negotiate any disputes. I believe Katie has just done an outstanding job. Now, her hiring was subsequent to this, but it's important to note that the first thing I had here was required recurrent training, and I appreciate the board at least going along with the committee going along with that. So, and Katie, by the way, has just been doing an outstanding job from the feedback and the personal experience I've had has just been outstanding. We're moving that direction. But there's still some things I think that we can work on to make us even better. Number 2, paper documents could be converted to electronic documents whenever possible and delivered via the internet to the requester, unless otherwise directed. Consider developing a database as a repository for these documents to facilitate future searches and retrieval. A county fee collection service such as PayPal would help facilitate payments and reduce the requirement to pick up records in person. Potential benefits are reduced costs associated with copies, i.e. paper, toner, electricity, etc. Reduce the need for the requester to personally pick up records, saving time, fuel, money. And C, reduce time in providing duplicate requests. Number 3, email redaction costs are historically problematic. Currently, all emails are reviewed by the custodian, a system that requires all county personnel to identify any email with exempt or potentially exempt information, as well as an OK code for the inverse might be considered. Discussions with county IT providers seems appropriate. Conceptually, any email sent that might contain exempt information would contain a prefix, PEX, public exempt, or some code in the subject line or body. All emails without exempt information might contain a different code. Information inform all county employees of the risks and to use caution when emailing exempt information. So that was just the first shot at this, and I think our second meeting we were asked to produce that. And I think what caused all of the upheaval is the concept of having emails that would not be reviewed by staff or by attorney, particularly attorney because of the cost involved. As you recall, I subsequently backed off of that position and said, let's just go ahead and train the county personnel that if you think there may be some potentially exempt information, put the code in there as a double check, as a safety, so that when it was, and I never said, it got to the point where I relented. I said, fine, let's go ahead and review, but let's put in this safety check. Let's go ahead and put this little extra step in. It's very simple to do. It makes people cognizant of what they're putting in their emails, and it would allow then the county attorney or staff, when they would see that code, oh, that's a special one. I really want to look at that one close because the author or somebody reading that email determined that there might be something here. Not making a legal determination, but just by the nature of it, this might have something. So it's just another check that would help us to preclude releasing exempt information via emails. Again, i.e., reducing our potential for lawsuit.
And we had this discussion and we argued about why this would not work. So, and we let me just finish the other, and then because I touch on that again in the second one, and we'll talk about why that wouldn't work to have the safeguard in there. You're still having, ultimately, you still have staff and county attorney reviewing an email. You just have an extra safety there, and I would love to hear the argument as to why that won't work.
So this was March 5, 2012, now after we had some conversations and we moved in and asked to provide some more suggestions. I felt that it would be important, because now here's where we were kind of in limbo after I believe Virginia left, and there was a void, and there was a position and a scope of work that needed to be done by somebody, and that scope of work is very entailing. I mean, it's very difficult, it's very tenuous, there's a lot of liability on the county's part, and so providing public records, because of the nature of the laws in the state of Florida, is important to have the right person in that position. So my number one in Virginia leaving was have our committee develop a comprehensive step-by-step procedures manual that would help guide the appropriate custodian, to guide the appointed custodian to promote consistent and reliable implementation of the public records policy. In other words, if Katie were to leave and we had a manual, somebody could just simply read that manual and have a very good, at least a high-level view of what their job would require and what they need to do, pitfalls to watch out for, and things that would help them in their job. In other words, not a policy. We have a policy, but a procedures manual. I thought that would be a great idea. Particularly, like I say, if we were to lose somebody or they become ill, somebody else could step right in. Number two, and I know this requires some work, but I think that's what our committee was designed to do. At least that's what I volunteered for. Number two, all paper records, when requested, should be converted into a digital document, such as a PDF, whenever possible. That's reiteration from the first. It just makes sense in this day and age of computers that we turn these into electronic documents and save some trees. Number three, establish a method of electronic online payments, such as PayPal, to effectively and efficiently collect payments for documents. This will reduce the time to create handwritten receipts, making change, etc. Many counties do this. I mean, you make a public record request, you have a PayPal account, you send it email, nobody travels, everything's good. Number four, provide the option for the requester to receive the public records electronically, thereby saving the related travel expenses. Number five, add additional fields to the public record log to further help ensure policy compliance, to include estimated cost date, the amount received, and the amount received date. That would be on the public records log, just some more fields that would help track the public records. Have our committee develop employee training materials related to the fundamentals of public records, with an emphasis on individual responsibility for knowledge of what constitutes a public record and potential exemptions. Require each employee, to the best of their ability, identify any potentially exempt records that may generate or become aware of. Any potentially exempt document should be clearly marked with PEX for potentially exempt, while emails that are potentially exempt should have PEX amended to the subject line. Some potentially exempt information includes, and these are some pretty basic things, but it's very simple. I think each one of and here was an argument that was made against this, was that the county employees were not smart enough to be able to do this, and that's on the record. That is absolutely on the record, and I will be happy to. Not smart enough? That's what was said at this meeting. That's what was said. Okay, and I'll produce the audio. I'll be happy to produce the audio.
Who said that?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, I will.
Absolutely. Wasn't a lawyer.
I'm curious.
And
I'll just go back over that. Back up a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, can I point of order, Madam Chairman? In my next thing, I have a suggestion for process for either a majority or a minority report, because we cannot do it in a workshop session. If we could consider this with Mr. Foltz's suggestion so far that we've already heard, if we could consider this process, then we can rock along with let Steve continue and let him review.
Well, let me just finish this up and then we
go ahead.
I just want to get through it quickly.
Tell me again. Go back over that one more time.
Yeah. Okay.
County.
Now let me finish, and then I'll follow up with it. My suggestion was, and let me read it, and then we'll talk about it. Require each employee, to the best of their ability, identify and potentially identify any potentially exempt records that may generate or become aware of. In other words, if you see one, even if you see one that you were copied on, when you forward that, you put in PEX. If you just received it and you think, hey, there's something in here, let's at least identify it so that if it is flagged as a public record request by IT, whoever's doing that review, whether it be staff first or the attorney second, they would see the PEX and it would just bring extra attention to them, okay? So, anyway, some of the potentially exempt information is, and this is pretty basic stuff, medical, birth, and adoption records, social security numbers, personal identifying and financial information contained in the Department of Health records, investigative and criminal intelligence records of law enforcement agencies, law enforcement records identifying sexual abuse victims or confidential informants, home addresses, phone numbers of Department of Children and Family Services investigators, student educational records, reports of disease with public health significance to the Department of Children and Family Services, negotiation records of purchase of real property by state or local agencies, most tax information filed with the Department of Revenue, security system plans including building plans, blueprints, schematics, drawings, driver's license and motor vehicle records unless driver consents to disclosure. When I went over this list, there was a comment made, and I believe that it was, I know the comment was made, and I'm not going to point fingers right now, but I'm happy to produce the audio, that the county employees were not smart enough to do this. This was beyond their capability to be able to do this. That was the argument that was made, and I was flabbergasted. I just...
My argument remains that you're asking people to be lawyers when they're not lawyers.
That's exactly right. And I know what comment he's on it, and you're dead taking it out of context.
Well, we'll play the audio, and then
no, that's fine. I don't care if you play it or you don't play it. I'm telling you right here.
Let me just finish, and then we're done. Yeah, let me just finish.
Just on the record, that's ridiculous.
Enhance, it's just easy, safety. I mean, there's not any reason not, there's no harm that could come from doing it. There is zero harm that could come from doing it. And the positives are all up.
It will not take any work away from anyone because the county lawyer already told us that they would still review everything, regardless of any code. So what is the point of a code?
Because it puts emphasis on it. We've already acknowledged. Please, may I finish? May I finish? I start to talk and then you interrupt me.
This is like, how many times are you going to read the same documents to us?
Because now there are other people here.
I don't care, they're not voting.
I know, but...
Are you reading it for how?
Wait a minute. As I recall, Steve was stopped midpoint when he tried to do this the first time.
Okay.
You did. You broke in what he was saying.
So, I just... My point is that it can't hurt anything. We've already acknowledged that things slip through the cracks. Things have slipped through the attorneys. They've slipped through the cracks with the attorneys. And I just feel very strongly, as you oppose it, I feel just the opposite, that there's absolutely, and that's why we're going to have a majority and a minority report, and we can let the board decide if these things make sense or not. That's all I'm saying. I'm telling you what I'm going to present, what I have presented, and I want...
So there's nothing new, but you want to get it on the record again because you have a different audience?
No. Yes. Yes. That's... Well, part of this is...
Wait a minute,
I'm
we're
not even
voting
sure what
today.
our position is. So anyway, let me just finish up.
We already had a vote. This is to develop the process for the reports because we already had our votes. We were at a deadlock. We're only meeting again because the board said, produce a report, and we know it has to be a majority-minority because we know that you were deadlocked and could not agree. So this was not to rehash the points again because we already know we do not agree.
Okay. Let me just finish up. I got two more quick ones. Just enhance mywakulla.com public records portal to clearly indicate a public records request was submitted and provide a confirmation. That's not currently done. When you submit, you have to put in a code, the spam code, and if you don't do that, you never get a confirmation off of it. Excuse me. So that would just be a positive, I think, that would help the requestor with documentation he submitted a request or she submitted a request. And then enhance the mywakulla.com public records portal to generate an automatic submission email response once it's accepted. So it's essentially the same thing. Both for you spam. So I appreciate it. And my intention, Rachel, is not to try to convince you to do any of these things. Okay, it's clear that you don't think any of these are good ideas, with the exception of the training. With the exception of the training, you said the training was good.
That's not even true.
But I am willing. Just so you understand, is I've never said this is all or nothing. I've never said it's all or nothing. I've always been highly negotiated. I've negotiated things all my life. I'll be happy to take whatever you feel is pertinent here that you would like to provide to the board. And again, another argument I have, even if we presented all of these things to the board, they're ultimately the ones that are going to say, yes, that's a good idea, or no, that's not a good idea. And for us to cut it off, because my feeling is, okay, my personal feeling is, my personal opinion, my personal feeling is that some people feel as if public records requests are this evil thing that we're trying to not facilitate. And I'm just the opposite of that opinion. And
I'm going to take
obviously
offense to that if you're talking about me.
I'm not mentioning any names.
You are, for the record. I'm going to take offense because
I have an analogy about public records request.
saying,
I think a public records request, I think it's kind of like a gun. And that the gun itself is not evil. But in the hands of certain actors, it can be a tool of destruction. So, yeah. That's, and I think that with guns, you should have education. I've always been a proponent of that. It should not be wielded without education.
So then
wait a minute.
But would we not then educate the employees of the county as to what is exempt information? As you just made my argument for me.
I vote for training.
But you should understand that we went
for the
through
public
this.
records custodian. I'm talking about training for the employees of the county that are generating these emails.
I'm talking about. He's talking for 10 minutes.
Hey, we were having a conversation.
No,
but anyway, that's all.
You just filibustered and you've done it in every meeting.
I understand the point you're trying to make. I disagree with it for many reasons.
That's fine.
That's
fine.
I don't want to belabor the point because the more we talk about it, the more you think that you might convince me, and you won't.
No. And the thing is all these cost money. You're making government bigger. And this man is struggling to pay for what we got now, and everything you talk about in training is hours and hours and money and money and money, and it ain't there. It just simply ain't there. We've got a plan that'll work if you just charge what you're supposed to charge for it.
These are the things that I will present in my portion of the minority.
And that's what I want to say is y'all get together and do that. That's fine. I appreciate it, and I think you should, and work as hard as you want to work. And I still am offended that you keep saying I don't do nothing. I came in here with what I thought worked. And somebody appointed me to this board that thought it worked. Apparently, because we'll say this on the record, y'all actually disagreed with me that you should have some like mind as to the commissioner that appointed you. Y'all always went crazy and said, no, that ain't right. But I think that you should have some like mind. I don't think he should be able to tell me what to do, play by play. But I think I ought to think somewhere along the lines he does. And our attorney, and I came into this open-minded, but we talked to the attorney, we talked to Mr. Edwards for a little while, we talked to Miss Virginia, we talked to the IT guy, and there's just not any place that don't cost more money to do what y'all want to do. But you come here under the umbrella, you want to save money. So
I'm just one quick question. Go ahead. You are right.
Can I interject here? We need to close this up because we're kind of just running around in circles now. I think, just from you sitting here listening, that we need to, whatever list you've got that like recommendations.
I've also prepared a document. I have
and let's just, as a group, you guys vote on, just take them one by one and say, here's the things that we can agree on this and we can disagree on that. You know what I mean?
Well,
and then
did you bring copies?
Can't today because
no, I provided them previously.
Well, no, not everything. Not everything. You still got a quorum. You got 4.
Okay.
So you can have a 3-1 vote. 4-0 vote. Whatever it is, y'all just agree on what you can agree on. All right. Then you say, okay, on the rest of this stuff, let's vote. That how do if you split the vote, let's just prepare a minority and majority report based upon those final recommendations. At least coming out of here, you've got some consensus on something.
Hey, let me say that.
I think the only thing we agree on.
And that's all I'm asking for.
I understand.
We can just have some.
I think the only thing we agree upon is that the only thing that they will agree upon, and we're certainly amenable to it. The only thing they've really presented is that
Everything's okay.
Everything's okay. Use the exact policy that we have, which is what has been suggested, is that the policy we have is adequate. The county attorney did a great job. It's perfect. There's nothing that can be done. We can't enhance it. We can't refine it. There's no efficiencies can be found, and that we should have recurrent training for the custodian of public records. I fully agree with that. I mean, I fully agree.
All right, then that's one on the list.
That's one on the list.
One off the list.
There were other proposals I had that you guys didn't like there, and they are put forth in my
Point of order. We approve, Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Point of order. We approved the agenda. Yes?
No, actually, we didn't approve the agenda. We did not take a vote on it. No. We
Okay.
didn't.
We
Does it
matter if it's...
Wait.
But David Edwards has just interjected, and he's representing the board, and he can direct us to prepare our report. So you want to be in opposition to that? There's something else you think needs to happen?
There's a process that I've suggested that's on the agenda.
And you've mentioned that we have not voted on that process. That's the second page of your agenda, and we have not taken a vote on your process and procedural motions.
Then it should be after public comment.
Process
It would
and final report.
It would have solved the arguing. If we take everyone's suggestion, if you would follow along, vote on each individual presentation. Each person submits written suggestions. If the vote wins, goes on the majority report.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
If it loses, it goes on the minority report.
Okay.
That's the only way we can do it in the sunshine.
That's fine. I mean, that's what I think.
And I think you were moving, Dave, I think you were moving along the same lines.
Because both sides have staked out where that, and that's fine. Not a problem. Let's just take it one by one, and I think what you just said makes common sense.
That makes sense, too.
And let's do it, and then let's...
I make a motion that we do what you just explained.
All right.
Is that good enough for my motion?
Second? Anybody second that? Is that
I'll
right,
second.
Steve?
Sure,
okay.
sure,
All
yeah.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to proceed that way. I need a brief break,
Sure.
so I'll be right back.
Let me ask you a procedural question. There were 1 or 2 extensions,
2, I believe.
but the second was just...
One expired. One had not... Well, actually, we've had 3 extensions, I
That's
believe.
what I thought.
I believe there's been 2 extensions.
And the way the whole thing was written was the committee expired. The committee's work expired. Heather's sandbagged me at that meeting. And if that's what's going around...
Well, let's wait till I get back. I'm sorry, dude. It was like...
It's just frustrating. You see this shit? Pardon my French. I guess I'm on the record now. You see this stuff? I ain't doing it for my health.
Now we just got to
Well, I think we have a problem.
Let's agree to what we can agree on. Let's disagree to what we can disagree on.
See, I don't
The
care
board
if
decides,
any of my suggestions are accepted or not. I care that there's a vote on them because I put work into it. That's all. And I'm sure everybody feels the same way.
I have no problem with it.
Let's get it on.
All right, let's go through Rachel's. I'd like to read this. And
I printed out a copy of Okaloosa County's policy. I've done a lot of searching over the last few months for different policies, and that one, for me, was hitting some of my major concerns. And then I had compared it. I know that you guys all have studied the Government and the Sunshine Manual a lot. I printed out the brief version that's on Pam Bondi's website as my reference point as I was drafting this stuff.
what is different between Okaloosa's, and give me just the highlights, because I see you're talking about a deposit. I believe we already have deposits. I believe technically our policy requires a deposit as it stands. So what?
I seem to recall
after an estimate.
Yeah, there'll be an estimate first, then a deposit.
I'm worried that the estimate, and it seems to me that the estimate process has become onerous for some of these requests also.
In what respect?
About that. Because of the way the requests are made, where they're so broad. And I liked Okaloosa County's language about that, because they talked about requests that are voluminous in nature, and then there were guidelines about, because one of the things that I thought was important was to have guidelines, make sure we have guidelines for the public about how to make their requests to get the information that they want, so that if you cast these really wide nets, it's going to be a huge document request and very difficult to find what you want anyway. I mean, it seems like this policy streamlined the process and asked people to be specific about what they were doing. That's on the Okaloosa stuff, the extra printout.
Do you have a section, or you got something?
This is Okaloosa County. It's a whole separate page.
I
gave two sheets. Here, take a look.
I asked you if this is actually our front page on it.
Yeah.
This is our policy.
Yeah.
Is this their policy? Is this the same thing?
Yeah. Similar. It's a little different.
This is, excuse me, I'm trying to, this is Okaloosa's.
No, it's not. Okaloosa is the other piece of paper I handed you.
Okay.
Frequently asked. On the back we have some citations from...
The majority recommendations is the document that I wrote.
Okay.
And I included some citations in there as reference points.
That's the second page.
Right, so it's front and back. That's my document. The other document that I've given to you is Okaloosa County's policy. They're guidelines for requesters, because I think that the policy that they're giving to people who want to do public records requests is informative for people making those requests. Because it's a two-sided process. I think you have to have public education so that people know how to make an effective public records request, and then you also need to have training for the staff that have to handle the public records request.
I can't agree more. I mean, the first thing I said on the first date was narrow the scope while still satisfying the request. I mean, I think we're going towards the same thing here.
Okay,
just educate. And I think posting this on the website would be wonderful.
Something like that.
I think where the portal is to do a public records request, if this information was there, Rachel, I think it's great. Absolutely, positively. I mean, yeah. And that's, I was kind of leaning towards the custodian, a one-on-one, saying, this will help you with your request, because it's very complex and very complicated.
And I think
this is good.
They may still need to ask questions and talk to somebody, but I know that you want to have more things online. And when someone's sitting home at night saying, I want to do a public records request, it's 11 o'clock at night, and they click on our My Wakulla, and they're like, well, how do I do this, and what do I do? And there's that input.
Absolutely. I think this being posted to the portal for a public records request on mywakulla.com is wonderful. No doubt about it. Having something like this, or even expounding on this, and putting it on the website, but then also having it where somebody can come and pick it up if they made a public records request in person, outstanding. Having it in an email, that if Katie or Jessica received a public records request, they could shoot back an email that had this to try to help them. Yeah, absolutely. This is written very well too, and that it doesn't lead you to believe that the government entity is trying to limit your search. They're trying to help you.
That's why I liked their language. I thought
Yeah.
this is actually a document that is helpful to the public.
I think
so
it's...
after, I mean, and that's going through all the counties in Florida, and I was like, Wakulla has something that sounds like what we want to do.
That's it. Strives to provide documents as expeditiously as possible and at the least cost to the requester. That's what we're all about. At least, yeah.
So this would be a notifier. Notifier per se. We still have our policy.
Right. It's an agenda to a policy.
Our policy is on
that's beside the point.
that page of the website.
Yeah.
You click on it.
I don't have any problem with more information. If I'm log in that and I can do it and I get to read this, I think that's great. This has got to be.
I don't think we should adopt Ocalussa's policy per se, but I think
probably need to amend it. Yeah.
I think, and I've made some suggestions. I mean that was why I thought we were here. That something similar to this document is a great idea. However, that should be the purview of the county administrator and the county attorney.
So we make the suggestion to them and they decide what works.
Exactly. A Q&A is a wonderful idea.
Okay.
And I have that on things that I think are good ideas, on some of my suggestions.
Okay.
But it's not my purview. It's their responsibility.
Okay, but we came together in this committee to help them. I mean, one of the things that Steve has talked about is creating policies and procedures. So I've submitted a document to add to policies and procedures.
And I think it's good. But do you want this document adopted?
I want to submit it for consideration. It doesn't have to be adopted word for word.
Well, that's my point.
Okay.
Something similar to this I can vote for.
Okay.
That there should be a Q&A similar to this document.
But these are good recommendations. If there's something in particular you object to, then I think you should edit the document and include it as part of our submission.
So this would go, it wouldn't actually change what we have now. You're proposing that this go as something as you can read to know how to do.
Nothing I'm proposing and anything I've given you all today would change the existing policy. It would add to it. It would be an addendum to the policy.
It would explain the policy. This is an explanation of their policy.
Which is very much
so a suggestion saying.
So we'd send this to Heather.
Yes.
Is that fair to Adisa still?
Yeah.
I would.
Okay.
So yeah, I would recommend. All right. You ready to roll?
Yeah.
I recommend that a Q&A similar to Okaloosa County be included on the county website. That's my motion.
Do I have a second?
For the county administrator and the county attorney to develop.
Q&A only.
FAQ.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah, FAQ. Yeah, FAQ. Yeah.
Only.
Right.
I'll support it.
Frequently asked. Oh, okay.
Frequently asked questions.
That's just semantics.
For FYI.
It's same
FAQ.
You say tomato, I say tomato.
It's the form that gives life.
And I will second that.
All right.
FAQ is good.
Yeah, I think we're still looking for a second. So.
Oh, I'll second that, sure.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so now what I do is I write down
Still find and change stuff like this that doesn't add straight to ours. Is that correct? The process.
I would hope so.
Wait a minute, this
That's
is
our job.
4-0, right? This was accepted
Yeah.
4-0. Accepted. Now, Rachel,
Yeah.
You have this stuff now, right?
Yes.
policy similar or Q&A, right?
Yeah.
FAQs,
Facts.
FAQs.
FAQ, as David said.
Frequently asked questions. Policy remains exactly the same.
No, policy similar to, because their policy, this is different than our policy.
A procedure to be added on to our policy.
To Okaloosa.
as far as our budget goes, Miss Virginia told us there were some issues in our spectrum, the budget and the lack of money with training. Can you? I would like to send somebody once a year or once every 2 years when laws are changed. I guess every year, every session when they're changed. Somebody that you designate to be informed so that we're informed as a county. Is there a way that you'd rather see us, or would you like to have some input? Cause
well, we just sent both Jessica and Katie to a full day's
and that's what I wanted
on public records.
Okay. And I figured that makes sense to do, and I guess we're putting it in here.
It was in Tallahassee. It was a couple months ago.
Yeah. And we just, I guess what we'll wind up doing is putting it to where you got to do it. Yeah. Is that a bad thing in your eyes that you got to do it?
I mean, it doesn't bother me. My thing is we don't do that in other positions, but we try to send them, we send people to that.
I think common sense says you would say.
Yeah, I'm all about education, so.
Yeah. And, okay. Let's just make sure there wasn't a better way to do it from your perspective.
That's the reason I sent 2 of them.
Well,
I think that's great.
I mean, we got other stuff coming up here now.
There you go.
And I mean, I don't agree with 2. But
well, that would be at your discretion anyway if you wanted to send
somebody.
I
gotta have. I'd rather have. I want to have a little redundancy. So.
Well, they needed to because they just took the job. But
you know, the thing that we agreed on as a committee was to send 1, and when I wrote my point 2 under the top of the sheet says July 2012 majority recommendations. Hoping that I would get these majority recommendations. Point 2, I referenced the training and saying that we want at least 1, but the county administrator should have discretion, funds permitting to send more than 1. But that we are asking for 1.
Why don't we go through? You want to go take all of yours now?
Because like this training, there was FAC ended up paying for it anyway. Yeah. So y'all just say that, and I'll determine whether I'm going to send 1 or 2.
Well, here.
Okay.
Then my thing will definitely be a minority if you guys are voting for it, but I think in that respect, then my suggestion about training should be considered. If we're training is the topic.
Is that it for you? I mean,
no, she has.
I have
more.
Several things. We kind of went out of order here a little bit, but I mean, we can do it by topic. I mean, we talked about the procedures a little bit with my Okaloosa policy. But the other issue on the table then is training. You have an item on training, I have an item on training for the few.
So why don't we table the training thing until we hear everybody's opinion and come up with something collaboratively? We haven't heard what his suggestion is on training, so I'd suggest...
we haven't heard all my suggestions either.
Okay.
I handed you documents, but, do you want to read them, or shall we want me to talk through them?
We have to read them, and we want to do it topically. I mean...
I think you should explain what you're suggesting, so
Okay. So
if you just explain in a nutshell what it is you're proposing, I understand.
But see, without additional information, if everybody votes for Rachel's and then something else comes up.
That's why you might want to just take a note and then we'll go through it all, and then we come back and vote on each one of them. Let's go through all of them, then let's come back and vote on each one individually.
If we vote for them, then we can put on our, if we want to call ours the majority.
Yeah, see, that's not how they propose doing it, though.
Yeah, I understand. I do understand. I'm just backing up saying that we may, because we've got, what's going to happen is I'm going to have to vote against something I like because I ain't going to do it for the extra part of it, I guess.
I'm sorry. Why would you vote against something?
Because I might like the first half and not the second half, and I don't want no time.
Oh, that's part, Bob, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's part of developing the items.
Right.
And then if you
then
say...
I'll show you my example in a minute, maybe. Maybe I won't.
Okay. So if you don't mind, Rachel, could you just, in a nutshell, I understand the concept of putting the FAQs.
I got something to go run take care of just real quick.
FAQs I got.
Well, I guess.
FAQs I got, and the deposit, I think we already do a deposit, an estimate and a deposit. You touched on the estimate that it might be refined somehow, so I guess so far what I've got is we're going to put the FAQs up and have FAQs available and maybe develop some more FAQs, refine those a little bit so we're not, plagiarizing Okaloosa counties.
Yeah.
But and I fully concur with that. Training issue we'll come back to. Are you going to mark that queue that we've got training on? We're going to come back, some variant of the training. And then, what else then?
All right, you have something on training? Do you have something on training?
Yeah, I think the training shouldn't stop at just the...
I'm going to vote against all that.
Neither do I. Bob, you don't have anything on training?
Yeah, I'm going to vote against all that, and then it's going to vote against what...
Then we'll put it in our minority report. That's fine. Then we'll put it in the minority report, and we'll be good.
Yeah, I mean,
guys
if we go through...
If it's...
Then we can break... If it's 2 sentences, we can break the sentence... We can break the paragraph in half and, you know, vote separately. If you like half of a proposal, make that suggestion.
That's what I want to... I second the item a while ago. But I want to clarify what the item... Were we still going to wind up with 2 different reports. Is that right?
Yeah, if we accept that this process...
It's actually one report with majority and minority opinion, which is a little different, because when I was thinking about this, I was thinking more like this, the way the Supreme Court does it, and what you and David have proposed is something different. But I'm fine with it, I think, but I'm not sure that Bob is.
Where I'm getting at is that I don't want to have to vote against what you said there was letting David send somebody to training, or asking him to send somebody to training, but then where they add some more stuff to that training stuff, and I'm going to say, well, no, because I'm not going to create costs for the county. That's just simple. So I'm going to wind up having to vote against the part I like. That's what I was saying a minute ago.
Yeah, it sounds like there's like a training A and a training B here. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. And you'll put the training A in your majority report, and we'll put training B in the minority report.
Although I'm not sure that Hugh agrees with training A because
I'll tell you what. I want every staffer and it.
I'm not willing to spend time to do that.
Can I?
Sure, I'm sorry.
I would. I mean, it comes. Bob, it just happened. I want every staffer once a year.
I'm not voting for that.
To get training in a session comprised of county attorney and a representative of the First Amendment Foundation.
No.
Now wait a minute. Hear me out.
How much will that cost?
Nothing. We just had a seminar with Barbara Peterson from the First Amendment Foundation. She did not charge. If we were to make that, if Heather was here, I do believe she wouldn't, that would be included in her thing. Because she has to defend. I got a phone call, what's today? Tuesday, right?
Tuesday, yeah.
I got a call Thursday or Friday from a guy trying to get a copy of his building permit, and he was told he had to fill out a form to do that. That's misinformation. It's not correct. It's not legal. You see what I'm saying? And it was the public, the front desk person at the building.
You're talking about
Put
training
that in yours.
But it's a training that doesn't cost the county
extra money. That's what he's telling us now. I don't know that that's true. Heather right here. It's just a bunch of... No. And you're going to stick in there, everybody's got to be trained. I'm not willing to put constraints on the man when he goes, you know what, this year ain't too good. Or this year's great. But that he'll have some discretion and make sure that he trains somebody.
Okay, well,
that's all I want.
My proposal on training.
And I agree with your proposal, but I'm not putting all that. I'm not listening.
My proposal is that a designated staffer should be authorized by the county administrator to attend a Florida Sunshine Law refresher or other training that will enable the staffer to remain current on the law. The county administrator may determine which training is appropriate, but a minimum of 1 training per year should be attended by at least 1 staffer who handles public records requests. Funds for the staff training must be allocated appropriately in the annual budget. And that sounds like what you did so far. And it doesn't go far enough for you, I get it. But
No, I'm as concerned about costs as anybody. And if you want to do an if-then problem, if Heather says
I'm not going to change, put it in your report, and we can move on to the next item. I'm just one vote, look. But I don't want to hear it again.
Vote on them as 2 separate propositions that As the absolute minimum we want is one staffer to attend training outside the county, and then...
But what you're doing...
You put that in yours. I don't want to hear it no
Bob,
more. No.
I'm addressing a concern that Rachel
Don't
has.
holler no more at me.
Bob, it's a breathing deal.
I don't care. Then breathe or don't breathe, but just quit hollering at me. I'm telling you, put it in your report. Put it in your side.
Oh, okay, guys.
Is he out of order, or, I mean, what do we do? What do...
Let's stop for a second. Hold on a second. Okay.
The debate is the extent of the training, and I think it's a legitimate debate, Bob. I apologize, but I think it should
I don't
be
want
discussed.
Should you apologize for your opinion?
No,
I think that there are two separate motions to be considered. That I have language for a motion, and that Hugh has language for a motion. And that I think we probably just need to vote on them separately.
Yeah,
and then if one doesn't get the majority, then it's listed in the minority, and then we move forward and it's part of the report. But I know that there's too much difference of opinion for us to come to consensus on this, and we will just keep getting upset.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, but there is, if you would allow me to explain to address your policy, you might end up voting.
He's still trying to convince you.
Well, the thing is, if I hear your proposal, I might vote differently than Bob, but I hear your proposal. I mean, don't presume that Bob and I are voting the same exact way on everything.
Right.
No,
Exactly right.
what you don't have to go. If they went to a seminar, they went to a First Amendment seminar.
I don't know what they went to.
Right.
Because there's other things like that the legislature does too.
But
and the Florida Association of Counties.
But you've already told us, you're telling us over and over and over the same thing. That's why I'm saying, I don't hear it no more. Let's move on to the next one.
We have reached a point, I believe. I'd like to make
I don't want to hear it no more.
I'm going to make a motion here.
See.
Let me just think about this for a moment. Let me preface it by saying I think we've reached a point where we've reached before, is that we're chasing our tail, as David said, and we're just going to continue to get out deeper in the weeds. What I would suggest is that the 2 or 3 of you present your case to the BOCC and David. We will present our case to the BOCC. And how we do that in the sunshine, I have to defer to somebody that knows more about it than I do, because at this point, if Heather's correct and we are still under, I thought when it sunset, it sunset. Okay, we had a date that the committee sunset. It was clear, the board voted on it, and beyond that date, now they've re-voted after that lapse, and I believe, what is our new deadline? Is out
August 7th.
August 7th is our new deadline. I would suggest that we ask the board to just terminate this. You guys do your report. That'll allow you to collaborate. It'll allow us to collaborate. We then just go before the board and we say, this is what we think we should do to streamline the public records. This is what they think. We just basically have 2 committee reports is what it's come out to.
Yeah.
I think that's logical.
But the point being, that's not our charge. They wanted a report by August 7th.
Then give them one.
Well, we can't collaborate, though. That's the problem.
Us.
Can I say something, please?
Bob, from us.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So you think
We can't meet out of the sunshine.
I actually thought that the board at one point was telling us to do exactly what Steve said.
Exactly what they said.
So I hear your concerns, but
they can't. They can't do that.
They could dissolve the committee, and they could have 2 informal committees, two advisory groups that would. They could do it.
No.
Heather's home.
May I have the floor? Let's do it.
Well, hold on one second. I did think I had one conversation with David Edwards before this meeting where he said that his understanding of where we stood now was that we were to close out the committee and then develop the majority-minority report. And the way it was phrased to me sounded like that didn't have to happen with all 5 of us.
That's right.
So
the way it was phrased. All right, I have the minutes somewhere of the last meeting, but I didn't think I'd need to.
But this is even beyond the last meeting because there's been a Board of County Commissioners meeting, and David Edwards has given different instructions to people. including a phone conversation with me as the chairperson of the committee.
And I spoke to him.
But
Not as a vice chair, but
the
as
sunshine laws are the sunshine laws.
We're supposed to dissolve this meeting as of this today. As
No, that's, Bob, we don't have the power to do that.
We vote to dissolve this, and then it will be dissolved on the 7th.
No, that's the board. The board established it. The board is the oversight body that has to dissolve it.
I was at the meeting.
And I was
And I
not.
talked to Heather.
I don't know. And
So,
Heather's
and I
not here, and
respect
now
it.
we don't have David here.
That's right.
Wireless, no.
So,
Did you bring him?
I didn't have my
Laptop.
computer.
I do, but I
that's
can't
good
get on.
enough for us, for the majority report. And I don't care what they do, and I don't even care if they talk. Put your report together. I just really don't care. Get your report together.
Yeah, we will. There'll be
And then we've got what we want.
So, Steve, you would like to move you would like to do some amalgamation of the recommendations that the two of you have come up with so far to move forward.
We
Do you wanna
haven't
make a
we haven't
presentation?
come up with any.
Well, all
You
I
have
have
some
done.
and Steve has some.
Yeah, I have my previous. I have not created anything new.
Okay.
Um,
And
um,
the only new I think I
kinda
have
put
is
this
what
out
I
of sight,
submitted
out of
to you
mind.
today.
Right. I kind of put this out of sight, out of mind until today's meeting. I had
What?
planned on preparing
Oh,
something, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to see how this goes, because I think the concept of y'all present what you think, what your embodiment of your charge was, and we'll present what our embodiment of our charge was, because it's obvious we got two distinct factions here.
Right.
It's very clear.
Did
And
Dave
I'll
leave?
put together a
leave?
PowerPoint,
I'm not
and we'll present what we think would help the county. And I just,
What
I
meant
think
is
that
that
trying to come to some kind of negotiation or agreement here is just, Rachel, it's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. I don't see it. We're going to get frustrated, and we're just going to continue to differ in opinions. And I respect your opinion, Bob.
And I do.
I think it's
Trust
fine.
me.
I think
And,
it's,
you know, there...
but
I mean, on one hand, I mean, I'm sorry that we're not getting to vote on each item. I mean, there are things that you put forth today that some things I've told you over and over again, I hate it, and this is why, and there are other things that I like. I mean, I do think that the My Wakulla portal should work better, and that there's more things we could do online. I mean, and I thought that from the very beginning.
But they'll have a chance. The commissioners will have a chance to look at that, and if they want to grab something out of there, then they'll be able to. We'll tell them what. We're just split.
So meanwhile, does this go into a regular meeting, or do we ask them for a workshop?
Well, no, I'm telling you, I was at the meeting. He was at the meeting. He spoke to. And maybe David will be back. We're supposed to end our meetings today and give them a majority and minority report. That is why they gave us. They're going to be frustrated with us if we send something back to them, because they gave us another month.
Well, we need to check the minutes. We need to check the minutes from that meeting and see what was voted upon, because enacting and renewing and extending, I should say, the public records has been done formally at board meetings. There have been motions made, there have been motions accepted, and there have been minutes produced that have not only established but have continued to extend our due dates. And the only way, at least in my mind, the only way that can sunset is either the board sunsets it or the sunset date expires, which is August 7th. So those are the only two options I see. So
I'd say something to that. I spoke with Heather about this quite a bit. The date the board gave us last time was a date we had to have our reports in, but we didn't have it in. Our committee wasn't dissolved. We had to have our reports in by that date. And she said to me, if y'all had another meeting and you got your reports in, I think they would still take them after your date, but the committee is absolutely not dissolved. And I said, well, oh no, what do we do? Because I don't know if they're, I think we all think it's dissolved. And she said no, so they brought back this last agenda item to the commissioners, and they said, and Heather said at the meeting, no, it's not dissolved. You're going to get one more. You're going to give you one more time.
I'm sorry, Bob. Let me just clarify that, because I think that may not be true. It says the term of the Public Record Committee was originally set for 4 months. So they're not talking about a date for a report to be done. They're talking about the term of the committee. So the term did expire.
I'll argue with Heather about that. I won't disagree
I know
with you.
what she said.
Okay,
but that's what the document says. The term of, not a report due by. Just.
So when I went and I told her that we were dissolved, what do? We don't have reports. And she said, well, only the date to have it. So I don't disagree with you. You understand what I'm saying? I understand what you're reading. I'm just throwing into the mix
That's what the agenda item says.
What she told me.
That's what the agenda item says. Now, what the actual resolution says, I don't know, but it just...
Yeah,
and I think that's where the ambiguity...
Item, though. You don't have the whole
that's where
thing,
that's
so
where
that's probably not fair
to Heather. I don't know. My understanding was it was the term, and when the date expired, and that we were working with a sunset committee. And so right now, we're not sunset. Right now, we are an active in the Sunshine Committee, and that's why, for us to collaborate and try to present something to the board, it hasn't been done. And how we do that to get to the board, I don't know. I mean, I assume somebody needs to put an agenda item up before the commissioners and say, sunset this, and I don't know if there can... That's a question for Heather. I don't know how that works. I don't know if you can have an advisory, a citizens advisory council, or just an informal group or an ad hoc group that presents these things.
I think the question we get answered, so it's totally clear, and there's no cause for confusion there, because I think that that is totally otherwise.
The last thing the Sunshine Committee,
right, exactly.
the Public Records Committee wants to do is violate the Sunshine.
About all of us at that.
Jeez. And knowing, well, yeah.
So basically, I'm for... I will apologize for letting us go down the road, but I didn't foresee the fact that if you had this item here, then there's going to be add-ons. I would have never went down that road. I would have never seconded it. I would have never... Because, obviously, that's going to change what I'm in favor for, which is probably very simple. Also keeping it like this. And so I will apologize for wasting time. But it didn't quite see that was the way that was going to work. I was under the impression we were going to vote on this and it'd be up or down, and then they could have what they wanted to and vote up or down. And that's why I basically stopped the thing and said, wait. And then Hugh, he's a great guy, but I didn't want to be explained to it again when it's whatever time it is, because I know what he's saying. And that's why I don't know how to accomplish it, but I think that y'all should be able to sit and talk.
I think
I don't care
what it is. I believe truly that there are many things that this county can do with respect to public records that will make them more efficient and save the county money. And I know you disagree. You think the policy's fine and leave it like it is.
I Zipper's better for me.
Add a little bit, but that's fine.
That's just my philosophy, though, and I agree. I understand yours.
And I appreciate that. I guess. No, I won't say anymore.
Can we find out if you and Hugh can, do you care if they get together and make their report?
I don't think I'm allowed to say if I care or not.
So that's out of line.
Yeah.
I'm just trying, I'm not...
Well, but can't you have a subcommittee?
That's what I'm trying
to establish a subcommittee
I've served on Sunshine Committees where we've had subcommittees, and as long as they were publicly announced, and you keep records from the meeting, we were allowed to have them. I serve on I serve on a childhood committee that's under Sunshine, and we have subcommittee meetings for planning things, and we have to notice them publicly, and anyone could come to them. Hardly, we don't usually get a lot of other people, but it's still in the Sunshine, but because it's more than, it's a subcommittee of people meeting.
Yeah.
And it's no quorum requirement. You just say these people. If there's 1 or 5, you conduct the meeting.
Yeah.
You conduct. I think that's a viable. I think that's a viable alternative right there.
If we were going to do this and we were all 5 going to be here, quote, under the sunshine, well, in essence, this is hypothetical. You and Hugh get to that end of the table, and us 3 get to this end of the table. I mean,
which could have been done.
We're in the same room, so I guess we're legal, but we're still separate. We're not hearing everything you're saying. So I don't see what it would hurt if you was in a subcommittee somewhere with just you two.
I think you'd have to have 2 sets of meetings, 2 sets of minutes if you did it at this meeting. But I think if you set up a subcommittee and they had their own minutes and brought them back and said,
okay, so
incorporated it. That sounds, I don't know, but that sounds appropriate. I mean, it makes sense to me. Subcommittees are subcommittees, and
I don't want to do anything wrong.
But I think we need to ask. I think we need to have a definitive opinion. I mean, I know that I've been advised by the other group that I work with that we can do it, and we do, but I don't want to say that falls in line with the Board of County Commissioners.
I think it might be appropriate then for someone to make a motion and let's approve it predicated upon the county attorney's approval, so that we don't have to come back to another meeting.
Well,
First day, you might have.
Yeah.
Let me tell you where we're at now, Mr. Administrator. It's pretty apparent we're not going to come to any kind of conclusion to this thing, and we're just doing more of the same. What we'd like to do is consider, I believe Rachel may have, we've talked about this a little bit, the ability to establish a subcommittee, which would be effectively Hugh and I. They would work on our work product, keep minutes, submit those to the committee, and then, because the problem is that we can't work together, we're in the sunshine right now, so we can't communicate and collaborate on a document to be able to present the board.
Unless we do it here?
Unless we do it here. I mean, but you know, I don't know that at this point is going to happen.
And we don't seem to, I don't know.
But can we have publicly noticed subcommittees where they keep minutes that are not the full?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I think at the end of the day, the problem is with even if you break into subcommittees, it boils down to it's not the committee making the report. I think what the commission and what I'm expecting is y'all just give me.
Here's the problem.
Well, no, just give me, as a committee, and give me what you do agree on.
Here's the problem with that.
Okay.
We don't agree.
And that's what we started down that road.
If it's nothing, just say that. We don't agree on anything.
I think we're there.
and let's disband the committee, because past that, that's what the commission wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted. And the problem is I'm gonna have your report and your report. I would rather y'all just, you know, as part of your record of your meeting, have all your information.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can go through it and glean off what we want if we want to do that. But my thing is I would really like to have something to where I don't care if it's one thing. Y'all agree on one thing.
You know,
and then give me a report on what you don't agree on.
Here's
and that's it.
What about no? Because what is not agreed to will be that minority report.
We can't go through everything item by item.
Why not?
Because you guys start screaming at each other.
Here's what happened.
And I can't.
All right.
I can't do that.
Well, it's the chairman's job to say you're out of order or you're out of order.
And I've done it to you and to Bob, and then you do it again.
All right. Well, let me ask you all this. I mean, can't we just walk down through the list of things and just All right. Let me ask you this.
Let me tell you one.
All right.
I agree with what Rachel has here, and it's for to have one person trained, and if you want to send more, basically what we talked about, but then he wants to add on a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to wind up voting against that, because I'm not going to take the add-ons where you're forced to do a bunch of stuff, and to do this and to do that, and to spend money. I'm not going to vote for that add-on. So we can't get to a vote for just that, because there's the add-ons. And I'm going to have to vote against something I really like, because I'm not going to go with the fact that forcing your hand to have to spend money or send people or...
Those are suggestions, Bob, and they're going to be
considered
by the commission.
Yeah, but I'm going to vote against it, so I'm telling you, and it's a good idea. So we probably just need to give them all our paperwork and disband. Can we disband ourselves?
No.
Well, the committee expires on the 7th.
It expires on the 7th.
So if we turn in the relevant paperwork today, and then the committee runs out, then it's done, and then the board and the staff can decide how to review it.
Well, that would be one. That's one acceptable way. I mean, I don't mind just saying, these are my recommendations, include them in the report. Then you got Rachel's recommendations, and we vote to include it in the report. We've got Steve's.
And you got mine.
All right, where's yours?
I mean, your report can be, we agree, disagree, and here's all our work product.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean,
that's fine.
That's no problem.
Does that sound good to you, Jess? All right, y'all knock her out.
All right.
Now, wait a minute. All right, because I'm going to try to collate everything. You had two pieces of paper.
The Okaloosa policy and the majority recommendations document that I wrote out.
All right, Okaloosa policy and this.
Well, and I would like to reserve the ability to submit something before the 7th. I only brought to this meeting what I had previously submitted I did not produce anything, not knowing how this was going to all work out.
That's a one-way communication. You can do that. You can put it in the pile.
Give it, add to what's already been submitted.
Who's the keeper of the pile?
The pile, in that respect, would be you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought the secretary.
Okay.
Well, I think...
Or I'm the
Can we turn
secretary,
it
but
into to
we
you?
go to the chair
and then to the secretary. I guess.
Jessica now?
It needs to come from the, it needs to come from the committee as in one pile, it says.
Okay.
There.
Understood. And you want to add something to it?
Yeah,
Well,
I don't
yes,
care. I'd like to reserve the right to do that.
Okay, so do I need to hold it till I get the final document? Or can we leave it here in your hand and then he can walk in and hand a document to you?
Now that would work.
I would think that would.
I would think.
That's okay.
Yeah, you can.
How much? Wait a minute.
Until the 7th.
What do we got? That's a week. What do you have in work product-wise that you would...
And then Steve hasn't handed me a document that no one else sees, and it's got direct communication between two members of the committee.
I got
Okay. But if he gives you his document...
No, I want...
Wait a minute. Whoa. And you do not comment on it, it's okay.
I don't know that I'm entirely comfortable with
Well, if
that.
y'all aren't comfortable with it, that's fine.
Well, I'm
Turn in what you got today. Turn in what you got today to Katie, because that's who it says it has to go to. Okay.
And let's... Can I
Turn it
see
in to
this?
Wakulla County Administrator, County Attorney, and Public Records Coordinator. If you turn it into her, she'll copy all of them.
Okay.
And she'll copy everybody
Put your
on
name
that.
on
But then what she'll do is create a file. Jessica, let's make her create a file. Ask her to create a file. And then we'll close that file out come 5 o'clock on the 7th. It'll be stapled, and that's it. No more requests.
All right,
No
but
more
see,
additions.
it does allow, hold it, Steve, it does allow for preparation and submission of the report. The deadline for the prep and submission is the 7th.
But we're saying right now that this is it.
Right.
Well, then Steve doesn't get his licks in.
No, he can turn it in directly to Kate.
Yeah.
Not to anybody else.
All right.
That's what we're saying. That's fine. That's
He
fine. You
still
turn
has
yours
the time to
in.
submit, but he's got to submit it directly to Katie. So anything
right.
in hand, anything you leave with Katie today, whether we say submitted by,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
you, Rachel, Steve, whatever, it's one pile, and then anyone else who wants to submit any other addendum before the 7th knows they have till the end of business on the 7th to do that.
And just I need a recommendation, an official from you.
Can we get a
Feel free
motion to
disagree,
that
but
effect?
Here's what we talked about, and here's what we discussed, and here's
I think
the
Katie and I can prepare an agenda item to the board that says, here's the recommendations provided by such and such committee members, and have them, I mean, they would have to direct us, they would direct
that's
us
fine.
from that on their recommendations and their direction.
Put your name on your recommendation, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't say, see, it won't be on the agenda, so the date for submission is the 7th.
Right, it's not going to be on the agenda until the 20th.
Right,
At the
so
earliest.
there's
Yeah.
a couple of weeks.
For them to review it. They need time to review
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So we've
And
given
Paige
to them.
will be able to turn hers in.
But after the 7th, then
Well, break it apart.
you don't worry about it again till the 20th, and you can go to a meeting and you can stand up and comment on the submission.
And then if I have other stuff, all right, I move. All right, what's the motion now? I move that each individual deliver their suggestions and work product to Katie by August 7th at 5 o'clock. Is everyone comfortable with that?
Second.
Well,
No?
Well,
What?
go ahead.
The only thing, okay, you get a second to that motion. I guess
Second for
what I
discussion.
would like to see, I think what would be appropriate would be for the beginning of this report to state that this is what we agree upon. We do agree upon something, that we send one person to training, and that we agree to put on the website.
You disagreed with that. He took
Oh, did he?
that part out of the water. Yeah, that was, we had a point of agreement.
Okay, so we don't agree on anything. I'm sorry. I withdraw.
What do you mean?
Oh, never mind.
Here, wait a minute. Whoa. Well, we see, this is the elemental stuff, Bob.
That's way too much
We
credit.
do agree on training.
Right.
That training is important.
But how to
We
train.
don't agree on
We
how
do
long
agree
forward.
that there should be an FAQ
We did agree on that.
Yeah, we did. There you go. Thank you. Okay, we did agree. We agreed that the website should have an FAQ section.
And I think if we went broadly, we would agree on a lot more stuff. But if we're going to...
We're not broad. We're not doing broad.
I think y'all went broad about 6 weeks ago.
And everybody agrees training is good.
So we want it back, and we agree training, but we don't agree on the details.
All right, that's fine. All right, don't talk about it anymore.
Okay, that's it. We got it.
Wait a minute. So what's the motion?
Your motion, I second, or you seconded the motion. I'll second the motion. You're the chair.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we're turning everything in. People have time to submit additional documents. Y'all can write memos to add on to this. I can write a memo as the chair.
Well, just I mean, the add-ons, just so we do it by the 7th, and don't do it with
Okay, so the stack of
That's all.
paper, is that complete for everyone's submission?
That's what I'm asking. Bob, you had something?
Yep, that's mine right there.
All right.
Okay, so these are, you probably already have these.
Wait a minute.
So
Hang on.
from previous
this
meetings.
This is
we're
just-
specifically giving to
Yes,
for Katie today.
yes,
as
all right.
part of what's going to
yes. I want this, that previously submitted.
Do you want them, you want the names on them, or does it matter? I don't think
That's up to Jessica.
No, they're not named on
Mine
everything
are.
right now, no. What do you think?
It would help us determine
Okay,
I think I put my name on mine.
I didn't put my name
That's
on
why
mine.
I
I can't.
if we're going to be...
Asking
Oh, no, Steve's got his name on there.
I don't think
I did mine.
I think I'm the one who did
And I'd like a copy of yours, please.
Yep. I thought I passed them out to you.
I don't think I got a copy.
Yeah, put your name on them.
Oh, yeah, I was going to wait. I'm sorry.
Just like in school.
Here.
Like in stuff.
All right.
Thank you. You want credit for that grade, put your name on it. If you don't, I'll take it.
And that's the way it was.
That's right.
Yeah. I remember that now.
Better put your
All
name on
right, now.
it.
You better spell it right.
Where am I?
When I did do my homework,
That's mine for you.
I was proud when I did.
Okay, I need my name.
I wasn't one of those kids that didn't put their name on it.
Here.
I rarely did it.
Yeah.
Right.
But I put my name on it when I did.
So this is the thing and my
Wait a minute, hold it. We're getting out of whack here. Steve, these both are yours, right?
Those should be, let me give you a staple. I think I have a stapled one in
before I
here.
can do that. It was just.
If not, I can write your name on it.
It was good grammar. Was
This was.
Shows the county thing. I
Wait a
don't
minute,
have a
I'm gonna have
copy.
to go back to 6th
No,
grade.
this is
I gotta start back over
One
somewhere
there.
on that.
Whoa. This
And
is
learn how to talk.
This goes with this one. This is my badge.
Hang on.
Stapled. Those
We
are
got
two separate-
Bob. Now, what are you looking
My
for
book was the
additional?
county. I handed out a bunch of them and now I don't
Wait a
have
minute, I
copy.
just had a pile, and what happened to my pile?
That's what I don't know. Is it this stuff? Oh, I see. You were stealing it.
Was I?
Yeah.
Yeah, here.
I'm sorry, I thought I...
You weren't done yet.
Oh, this is all you're entitled to.
I didn't, yeah, that's what I wanted, that's all I wanted. For some reason I grabbed some of those.
Oh, I have one submission, again, for the record, but I think it's one submission.
Okay, so.
Now, wait a minute. Yours,
The two documents I had.
yours, Bob, me. Wait a minute, no, this is Kessler's. Here's mine. All right. And Jessica, can you inform Tage if she wants to get to you?
Submit anything? Yeah, somebody let Paige know she can submit.
We can
Okay.
talk to each other, so
That's
7th.
good to do that, and I think-
After the 7th, it's your
After
opinion.
7 at 5:01.
I can call
Pick
you
up the
up.
Oh, yeah, no, we can, as a matter of fact, we can.
And I'm gonna get him
No,
on
you
the,
can
on
call,
the,
you can call Hugh right now. You just can't talk about
You
public
can't
records.
talk about
You can talk to him
Wait a
about
minute,
fishing
Rachel,
and
I'm getting-
having a beer all you want.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm getting...
And he can actually say what it is he's going to do. You just can't comment
That's
on
right.
it. You just gotta just listen.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I could...
That's funny, because, you know, it's funny, when I went to
All right,
the store.
it was this.
and The entire Bay County Commission was there.
Oh, really? That's
All
funny.
sitting beside each other.
Really? That's funny.
Oh, you can go to
But
parties.
But I go to all kinds of stuff, and there's all the commissioners are there. Our
As long as
commissioners
they don't
are scared
comment.
to death.
Yeah,
To even be in the same room with you, I'm like, dude, come
It's
on.
different, yeah.
well, they gotta put under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, how about the ones that are married to each other, public officials married to each other on the same commission?
Try to do a public records request there.
Well.
That works.
Super cool.
All
right, here's Kessler's. I have one submission I'd like to make for the record for the, what do you call it?
For the committee? For the,
Yeah.
for the record? What is this?
I want to include, this is the First Amendment Foundation Sunshine Seminar.
Oh, okay.
That well, I've already sent it to Jessica, but I sent it just to her for her thing. I'd like to include this in the material.
For the recommendations or as part of our minutes and our history of the committee?
Well, it's just,
You want this to be part of what the Board of County Commissioners actually considers our work product?
oh, actually, yeah.
Well, I would like to see it before
Because-
I vote, if I have to vote on it.
You don't have to vote on it. No, you're not. That's not what we're doing. Anybody can submit anything. So
Fair
if
enough.
you want that to be
All
part
right.
of the work
Well,
product?
I wanted this to be part of the record. Jeepers, what am I looking for?
Is it work product or the record? Because the record are just like your minutes and all that stuff, which somebody could request, but aren't what we're passing on right now.
Well, I'll include this.
Just put it in the stack.
I'll
just call it
include
that.
it in the stack.
We had to be decisive.
Because see, if you break out the individual frames in the PowerPoint, there's
You could
what,
print it out for them. Too.
25.
Why don't you print it out for them?
Well, they already have copies.
Okay.
I sent them to them after
Okay.
the day or so after
Right.
they went to the thing. I think
Complete the pile and pass it
all
across
right.
the table to you.
no, hang on, I got
And you can still add things until the 7th. 5 o'clock.
You should go through them one more time.
I'm going to your house.
well, I will submit them then when I find them. But I had 2 more documents to submit.
Yeah, you can still add. I mean, today is not your last chance.
That's right. You're right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Because you cannot.
Sorry. Which are
Who's
the
who?
new one? I don't know. We're going to have to see.